But let's kick off with the royal, shall we? Because big story yesterday. Everybody was slightly taken aback by not one but two health scares for the royals. And the front page of the Sun today, air for you, Kate, concerned Will's at his wife's bedside. He's gone to visit her. We were hearing before from our guest that you might even see the kids going to the London clinic to see their mother, because to be a mother and to be away from your kids
for that
who
long,
were quite young,
it's tough.
Yeah,
for a couple of weeks is a long time, isn't it?
And it's only over the road from me, so I'm at Regent's Park, so I saw all the police and
Did you?
all the
Have you taken
royal...
your flowers?
I've taken my flowers. I've done my royal things, and all the press pack are there outside. They were allowed outside the Royal Academy of Music yesterday for one night. And they were saying they were in the freezing cold. I popped into my home, but extraordinary. What I love about it is when people talk in the public eye, talk about their health issues.
Yeah.
But it's encouraging for other things. So Charles has talked about his prostate and so on and so forth. And the more they can do this, there's a lot of a big campaign I'm working on at the moment with Science with Soul about talking things about the BRCA gene, which could save lives. If people just share information about family history, you can get people talking about it, which at the moment doesn't happen. There's no obligation to disclose that.
No.
I think people in the public eye, so when Charles talks
I think
about
it's good that he did
it's good,
that.
isn't it?
I think so. And
actually, and what do you make of the timing of it? Because the timing of that information came out really quickly after Kate...
Well, I was talking about this yesterday because I can't believe that it was a coincidence. I mean, clearly they game plan all of this stuff. Everybody knows what's going on. I think, actually, perversely, they'd kind of worked out that if they released the Kate story first, that people would be very concerned and would feel sorry for her, and that would take the heat slightly away from the king, because if he had just announced it on his own, they might have said, well, he's getting on a bit, should he, possibly be looked upon as somebody who's not going to be there for very long.
I thought the opposite. I thought that they got her story out first, and then he came in really quickly. Obviously, he's the more senior royal, and therefore it in a good way, it eclipsed her
think in a
story,
way
because
that it worked. It sort of worked both ways, but I think they had to do it that way round, I suppose is what I'm saying. And I think by doing that, they actually showed that royal PR is still quite hard to do.
Look at this interest in, enlarged prostate that has happened since the king announced his problem. And they're saying it's thankfully not cancer, but anything that raises awareness of men's health issues is fantastic.
People in the public eye speaking about that sort of thing.
And also, equally, because of the fact that he was quite open about what it was, people were less concerned that she wasn't. And I think that's right, because I was saying yesterday that there might have been a time years gone by when I used to work in tabloid newspapers where the tabloids would have been speculating about what it was, and they might have been sort of prying, whereas now I think people are more accepting of the fact that, she's got a private life, she's allowed to have medical issues of her own, which she doesn't have to tell us about, frankly,
It still felt very intrusive, though, didn't it? I mean, the fact that Charles had to reveal it was about prostate, I mean, good for him for doing that, if it encourages people to...
Well, I used to make a living out of being intrusive, so you're asking the wrong person, I'm afraid. I mean, I didn't think it was intrusive at all. But the thing is, you can't not announce these things. Imagine if they tried to keep it secret.
Well, if you think back to the late Queen's final days, she was seeing, her finding something as Prime Minister, then she passed away a couple of days later. So royal health, they're still experts at keeping it under wraps.
Yes.
When it's a working royal, when it's the senior royals, there's inevitably that strong degree of public
and it's just days after they had that book which talked about her final moments, and Charles was
know about that.
Charles was off picking mushrooms, poor guy.
Yes.
Fun guy, as they used to say. But you work on that.
You worked that one up.
Teed it up.
Yeah.
But it felt a bit intrusive, though. I do think that Her Majesty's last moments didn't need to be in a book.
Yeah, I think, actually, I say this quite a lot, that since Charles has been king, he's handled it all quite well, because there's sort of... There's a modern feel to what's going on.
Right.
But
They're
I think
not
also,
stuffy.
in an age of social media, I think it is much harder for them to keep a lid on what this information might be. So, for example, if we go back to the Queen, there was a photo of her meeting Liz Truss, and everybody noticed that there was a bruise on her hand, where she obviously had a sort of cannula put in, that actually we were being given information without being given information.
Yes. And that's why I think the people who now run all of those things, the PR campaigns, because they did used to be awful at it. I mean, they seem to have learned quite a lot of lessons. Inside the Sun, we've got Camilla, who I think learned the other day from that same book is called Lorraine.
Yes.
Her nickname.
I thought Lorraine was Her Majesty. The other.
No,
it's
it
was for Camilla.
How is his Madge? She was asked, and Camilla says he's fine. Looking forward to returning to work. So, all's well. My only slight, and you might not agree with me on this point. My only quibble with William, and people will say that's ridiculous, is he's driving what looks like an electric Audi. So the two black
It's very
marks
small.
against the
From the fleet of electric Audis.
Everybody knows that everyone drives an Audi is now like a BMW driver.
He's not driving that round Balmoral, though. There's no charging points on
Why has he got
Balmoral.
Land Rover or a Bentley or something?
A Bentley. He should definitely have a Bentley. It's gotta be
Or a Mini, soft top Mini.
Yeah, well, that's owned by the Germans now, though, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, he could have one with the old Union Jack back lights on it, but there we are.